In 2016, California wife and mother Sherry Papini disappeared for 22 days. When she was found, she told authorities a detailed account of being kidnapped and tortured. Years later, in a stunning twist, Papini pled guilty to making false statements about what happened to her, setting off a media firestorm. Now, for the first time, Sherry Papini is telling her side of the story and revealing shocking new information. Sherry Papini, Caught in a Lie, an ID documentary event, Monday, May 26th at 9 on ID. Set your DVR. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 168 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good.
You gonna ask me how I'm doing?
Hey, Fergie, how are you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing great as well, man.
Yeah?
So happy to be in studio.
Right.
Always love it when you and I are sitting across from each other.
Better than next to each other.
Better than next to each other, just like when we eat lunch.
Yeah.
We sit across from each other.
As you should.
As you should. But I do like to record, right? Everything's been put together. We're ready to go. This is game time. We love it. We have fun.
The pre-recording stretching is a little bit much, but...
you don't want to pull anything. While you're in the middle of, doing these episodes, it's a long grind.
That's true.
We do these back to back. So you got to stay loose. You got to stay limber.
Yeah.
And the vocal exercises I make you do, it's all important, man.
I feel like that movie with Leo, whatever his name is, and Matthew McConaughey.
DiCaprio?
Yeah, DiCaprio.
Okay.
When they're...
only one of the most famous movie actors on the planet, but
Leo.
I got you.
I just know him as Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they makes him pound on his chest and the streets of Wolf Street or...
The Wolf of Wall Street.
You remember they're sitting in the restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
And he does those voice exercises?
I do. This episode is starting off real well.
Sorry.
No, I'm just messing with you. All right, buddy. We have some new Patreon supporters. Let's give our shout outs. We had Dia Radal up to our highest level.
Hey, Dia.
So we appreciate that. Cody Hutchison.
What's up, Cody?
Amanda Rogers.
Hey, thanks, Amanda.
Mark Gettemeyer jumped out to our highest level.
Hey, Mark.
Grant Allen.
What's going on, Grant?
Shelby Joe.
Hey, Shelby Joe.
Cheyenne Chambers.
Hey, Cheyenne.
Samantha Winger.
Hey, Samantha.
Derek Lewis.
So, Derek.
Dylan.
Just Dylan.
Christy Bogner.
Hey, Bogner.
Ellen Bauer.
Hey, what's going on, Ellen?
Terry.
Just Terry.
Tatiana Iverson.
Hey, good old Tatiana.
Sarah Orput Tumath.
Ooh, Orput Tumath.
Hyphenated.
Yeah.
Christopher Stodgehill.
Hey, Christopher.
Alexis Hadji Giorgio.
Hey, Hadji Giorgio.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
John Smith.
What's going on, John?
Kate Pinnell.
Hey, Panetta.
Adam Alley.
What's going on, Adam?
Cynthia Dango.
The Dango ate my baby.
Manuela Kalir.
Hey, Manuela.
And Arna Gunner's daughter.
Hey, you Gunner doctor.
So appreciate all that new support. And then if we go back into the vault, Gibbs, this week we selected Sophie Boner.
Really? Hey, Sophie.
Longtime Patreon supporter. We really appreciate it. Both the new support and the continued support.
It's amazing.
We had PayPal.
Okay.
We had Eva's Natter Terapi.
Hey, Eva's Natter Terapi.
Angie Stevenson.
What's going on, Angie?
Kathleen Martin.
Hey, Kathleen.
And Brittany Yother Patterson.
Hey, Brittany.
So we appreciate that PayPal support. Gibbs, right now, we have a brand new episode out on True Crime All the Time Unsolved.
Yeah.
We're talking about Kristen Modafferi.
Modafferi.
The disappearance of Kristen Modafferi. We start off in, SoCal or NoCal?
Well, it's going to be Northern Cal.
Yeah, San Francisco, Oakland area.
Yeah. She travels out there after her freshman year of college just to get away for a little bit, take a extra course out there at University of California. But within 27 days of landing at the airport, she goes missing. And then we get into the suspects, people of interest, rabbit holes, all that other good stuff.
As we do with Unsolved. But check it out. I think people will like this episode. All right, Gibbs, we have to jump right in. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I'm actually really excited about this one.
Yeah, I am too. We have a lot to pack into this episode. We're talking about George Sodini, a mass murderer who was a loner. This is a guy that harbored a great deal of anger towards women. There's a little bit of Robert De Niro's character, Travis Bickle, from Taxi Driver in this story.
Loneliness has followed me my whole life, everywhere. Bars and cars, sidewalks, stores, everywhere. There's no escape. And God's a lonely man. June 8th. My life has taken another turn again. The days move along with regularity, over and over. One day indistinguishable from the next. A long, continuous chain. Then suddenly, there is a change.
So a great character.
Oh, really good character.
One of Robert De Niro's best characters. It's a great movie. Taxi Driver is thought by many to be a great movie. It's a rough movie.
Oh.
It's kind of brutal. It's raw. It's in your face. To me, Gibbs, what makes this case so fascinating and different from probably a lot of others that we've done is that George Sodini left behind a running diary, a blog, if you will, just short of 5,000 words that gives some insights, right, into the reasons behind why he did what he did. It's why I'm comparing him to Travis Bickle a little bit. It's why I wanted to play that clip from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You heard him writing June 8th. This, and this.
Yeah, you're in his mind.
That's kind of what we're going to be experiencing with the story of George Sodini. And like I said, this episode is probably going to be much different from any other episode we've ever done. For one, I had a hard time figuring out how to lay this one out.
Yeah.
Right? How to kind of put the story together. It's not a big background case. There's not the normal level of minutia that you have with serial killers where you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 murders.
Right.
There's not going to be a trial.
No.
So, there are details of the mass shooting. There's details about the victims. We're going to get into all of that. But it's the fact that this man, Sodini, wrote down his reasons, why he thought he needed to do this, much like Travis Bickle. Yeah. We're like I said, we're going to get into his mindset in the 9 months or so leading up to this mass murder. But first, I want to play a clip of George, and then we'll talk about it.
It is easy for me to hide from my emotions for one more day. Take a long drive in the car, listen to some music, daydream, or just do some mundane task around the house that really doesn't need to be done, that's not too important. And there you go, one more day. And one more day turns into one more year. Now, RDS says that I have approximately maybe 15 more years to be successful at this. And when I heard that, I wanted to continue immediately to start moving on this. I didn't realize I had that much time. So my objective is to be real and to learn to be emotional and to be able to emotionally connect with people. Because when I'm 10 to 20 years older than she is, she has to feel good about this thing. And the only way around that, is to work on this. And perhaps STEM exercises or forgiveness exercises as per Hay or whatever else. I'm going to post this and see what comes back.
A little odd.
Strange.
A little strange, right? To hear this guy. I mean, take out the fact that we know he's a killer.
Right.
This is George Sodini from a video that he posted on YouTube in 2008. If you were just browsing YouTube and happened upon this video, what in the hell would you think?
Oh, like,
Something a little odd is going on here.
What's going on with this guy?
You know, fortunately, I think there was like 2 clicks,
Yeah.
Until he commits his crime. Then a lot of people are going to view this.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately, they're going to take it down. But
Sure. Strange, though.
yeah, definitely. So what you heard in that clip was George referring to RDS.
Yeah.
My understanding is that this video was something of a homework assignment. RDS is R. Don Steele, the author of a book that Sodini was reading. It was called How to Date Young Women for Men Over 35. So maybe that helps put what some of what he was saying into context when he's talking about, okay, I'm going to be 20 years older. This girl has to be comfortable. All that was very weird.
It was weird.
But I'll let the cat out of the bag and say there's going to be some strange things about George Sodini. That's probably a given. He also attended workshops or talks held by this author. George Sodini couldn't find love. He was lonely. He was longing for female companionship. And Gibbs, over time, he built up a hatred for women.
Well, got tired of rejection.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a question that people are going to be asking themselves.
Yeah.
Did George Sodini get rejected? Or because over time he had just built up this thing in his mind, he never even tried to date women.
Didn't even make the effort.
Yeah, it's almost as if his self-esteem got so low
Yeah.
that probably every woman he encountered could pick up on it.
Yeah. He shot himself down.
Yeah, without even asking a woman out.
Yeah.
I don't know that to be true, but you can kind of make that connection from some of his writings and some stuff like that.
Well, if he's not going to be confident, he's not going to have much success at it.
No, confidence is key.
Yeah.
Here's another clip that George posted taking viewers on a tour of his home.
Pan to the other side. Speakers on each side are large. They double as end tables. Okay, couch and chair, they match. The woman will really be impressed. To the right is my bedroom. It looks pretty clean. I'm sure she'll be impressed.
Very, very strange.
Very. I mean, okay, is it a homework assignment from one of these workshops? Maybe. The laugh in and of itself, creepy as shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because we already know what this guy's going to do.
Right.
I think if I didn't know who this guy was and I heard that laugh, I would be like, ooh.
Yeah. Something's up here.
Something's up. To talk about the fact that his speakers double as end tables and to just keep saying, okay, she's going to like this.
Right.
Well, who is she?
Yeah.
Nobody
random.
yet.
Just any she.
Yeah. Basically what he's saying is, I'm a catch.
Yeah.
Look at my place.
I got huge speakers.
That double as end tables.
Yeah.
Why would any woman in her right mind not want this?
Especially when they see my bedroom, man.
It's very clean.
Oh, look at that bed.
Gibbs, 2008 was also the year that George started his online blog. So, I mentioned it. Different type of story layout for us. I mean, we're essentially starting 1 year before the crime. We've bypassed childhood, background, all of that. We'll come back around a little bit to it in some of George's writing. He worked as a systems analyst for a law firm called K&L Gates in downtown Pittsburgh. That's where this story takes place.
Oh.
In the Pittsburgh metro area.
Yeah.
He lived in Scott Township, just outside of Pittsburgh. He posted this running diary / blog on his own website. It was georgesodini.com. Now that was taken down sometime after his murderous rampage, but for 9 months, George Sodini wrote in his blog about his frustrations, and this really provides a window into his thoughts leading up to this mass murder that he committed.
You imagine stumbling across that website?
Well, and it's a question that comes out after the fact. How many people did?
Right.
Was there people that knew George that happened upon his website? And if they did, why didn't they alert authorities that, hey, things are going downhill? Because as we get into the contents of this website, it's not going to be too hard to see that this guy is heading in a very bad direction.
Yeah.
Now, Gibbs, I don't believe there's a legal obligation to report something like that. It's not like the finale of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Where there's a law that says you have to do this.
The good citizen.
The good Samaritan law. Definitely when you get into the area, though, of morally right, ethically right, man, if you saw something like that, you should really tell somebody.
You almost wonder
if
the people that did see it, they thought, this must be fake. This must be some internet.
Yeah. And that's a question that comes up a lot when you get into the cases of some of the school shootings.
Yeah.
Right? People talking about what they're planning to do. Other students hearing it and saying, he's
right.
just saying that. He would never actually do that. The problem is they do turn out to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Scary.
So let's talk about this blog. It starts off with his name, George Sodini, age 48. He lists his date of birth as 9/30/1960. He lists his date of death as August 4th, 2009. 5'10", 155 pounds, never married, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. And yes, you heard that right. He had on his blog his date of death.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, circle back to that for a minute.
Yeah, I knew that was going to come back around. My assumption is that this was amended over time because we're going to find out August 4th, 2009 wasn't his first attempt at mass murder. It was the date, though, when he committed it. Now, above Sodini's first entry, he wrote this: "Why do this to young girls? Just read below. I kept a running log that includes my thoughts and actions after I saw this project was going to drag on."
You just wonder what is going on in this guy's head.
Well, you're going to wonder more as we go. The thing that I singled out there was that he called it his project or this project. So before we dive further into the online journal or blog, I think we need to talk a little bit about George Sodini. Gibbs, this was a guy that had a good job. He was a decent looking fellow. He appeared to be in good shape. He seemingly possessed above average intelligence. He listed his net worth on his website as $250,000 after all debt. Okay, it's not doing bad, right?
No, seems like he's doing all right.
Owned his own home in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, didn't live in mom's basement.
Nope. Neighbors later came and said that they had no idea George Sodini was harboring any of the thoughts that would later come out. Many called him a model neighbor. Some said, this is a guy that took good care of his yard. He was friendly. He always said hello. One neighbor said he even came by to check up on him after this guy had a major operation.
So he seems like
a better neighbor than I am.
Yeah, no, you're not setting the bar high.
No, I don't set the bar very high as far as being neighborly.
Yeah, on the surface, it seems like he's got a normal life going on.
Yeah.
Right? Good job, making some money, healthy.
Working out.
Yeah.
Has a nice house. Neighbors seem to think he's an okay dude. But then you get to his very first post. This was on November 25th, 2008. Gibbs, this was a very racist rant. This was about Barack Obama and really just black men in general. He specifically talked about white women preferring black men. And it seems to be the documented start, right, of George trying to figure out why women don't like him. Well, obviously he has had these thoughts for years, many years.
Sure.
But in his first writing, he says it must be because white women prefer black men to white men. That must be the reason, right, for why I'm so unlucky in love.
Yeah. The reason I don't have a girlfriend, the reason I don't have a maid is because of that.
Yeah, again, they're all going to be a little strange. They're all going to be a little odd. This one just happened to be incredibly racist. He doesn't write another entry until December 22nd. But in this one, he says, time is moving along. Plan to have done this already. I will just keep a running log here as time passes. Many of the young girls here look so beautiful as to not be human. Very edible. He also talks about joining a gym. Happens to be the same gym where he would later carry out his murderous plan. The key thing here to me is the phrase, plan to have done this already. This really leads me to believe that he had been thinking about committing a mass murder for some time.
Right.
By late 2008, and he thought he would have already done it. Really, as we go through this, Gibbs, the way I look at it is this blog that he decides to write in late 2008, it almost becomes something akin to him working up his nerve to commit this terrible act. He wants to do it, and he's writing these entries as almost fuel.
Right.
To get up the confidence or the nerve to carry it out.
Something he can go back and reread to elevate it again.
Now, as far as George's blog goes, obviously we can't detail out the entire thing. That would fill multiple episodes just for you and I to sit here and read all of the entries. What I've decided to do is pick out the parts that I believe to be the most germane to the story.
The most what?
The most germane.
Like Jackson?
Yeah. The most germane Jackson
Yeah.
to the story.
Yeah.
The most relevant. You know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah. Jermaine.
Germane.
Yeah.
Get out that word of the day
Yeah.
calendar that I bought you. I'm sure it's in there.
It's a nice flower too. Geraniums.
Germaniums. Christmas Eve 2008. Sodini writes, no girlfriend since 1984. 1984.
That's a long time.
He writes, who knows why? I'm not ugly or too weird. Now, I think the too weird part could be argued. Gibbs, he writes, no sex since July 1990 either. I was 29 years old. No shit is what he writes.
So no girlfriend since 84, but no sex since 90.
Yes.
So he be shelling out some money at the local parlor? I just want to know what happened between 84 and 90. Where was he getting the sex then if he didn't have a girlfriend?
He might have had a date or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, then again, like you said, it's a long haul.
He writes, maybe only did it 50 to 75 times in my life. Getting to think that a woman now would just get in the way. Have the next 8 days off. I should have exit plan done and practiced by then. I know nothing will change, no matter how hard I try or what goals I set.
So he's really got this embedded in his head that
It's deep.
it's going to happen. This is what I'm doing. At this point, the most beautiful woman in the world could walk through the door, and it's probably not going to change his outcome.
Well, it's not going to change the outcome because no matter who walks through the door,
Yeah.
they're not going to have any interest in me. That's the place that I believe he's coming from. No matter what happens or what I do, I'm not going to be able to attract a mate. So what the hell?
Well, he has said some ugly things, and words make you ugly, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of this he was saying in normal everyday life, but to your point, he was probably not Casanova either.
No.
In talking to members of the opposite sex.
I mean, if he opened up with, some of those racist comments, if he opened up with his hyena laugh about things that you really don't laugh about, I mean, I'm pretty sure women thought, okay, thanks for the drink, and I just got an emergency phone call. I got to go.
Yeah.
Things I've never heard.
I totally believe that.
Yeah. I just randomly thought of that myself.
Because you left before giving the woman a chance to shoot you down.
That's right. Look, she's grabbing her phone. I got to go. See ya.
You're not going to emergency phone call me.
That's right.
Because I already have an emergency phone call.
That's right.
Dr. Van Nostrand called
Yes.
and said my tests are in.
I got to go. I know it's 9 o'clock at night. He works late.
All right, Gibbs, let's take a quick break and talk about our sponsor, ThreadUp. It's the new year. A lot of people are making resolutions. One thing that I like to do, I like to go through my closet and replace stuff that I no longer wear with things that are new and exciting. And a great place to do that is ThreadUp. They make it so easy to sell your old clothes and get amazing new clothes for a fraction of the price. They have a vast selection, low prices, and convenient services, which make ushering in the new year, as well as a new closet, stress-free and affordable. ThreadUp is the world's largest online thrift store. With up to 90% off estimated retail, you get the amazing deals of thrifting with the convenience of online shopping from all of your favorite brands. We're talking about Nike for as low as $6, Lululemon for as low as $27, and so much more, all for a fraction of the price. And today you can get an extra 30% off your first order at threadup.com/TCAT. Everything is in high quality condition, and lots of items even have their tags still on. My wife and daughter are using ThreadUp at an alarming rate. I got to be honest here, Gibbs. I got to monitor them. They are finding some amazing deals. Sustainable, stylish, and totally affordable. You'll look and feel even better in 2020 with ThreadUp. Don't let allergy season slow you down. Get common allergy meds for as little as $15 with GoodRx. So you and your family, pets included, can stop allergy symptoms before they start. GoodRx is free and easy to use. Just search for your prescription on the website or the app, compare prices, and get a free coupon to show your pharmacist. Save at over 70,000 local pharmacies nationwide, including Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Publix, Kroger, and many more. Check GoodRx before every trip to the pharmacy to save up to 80% on both brand and generic medications. And did you know GoodRx rewards you for saving money too? Join GoodRx Rewards today and earn points every time you use a coupon. Remember, GoodRx is not insurance, but works whether you have insurance or not. And it could be your insurance copay price. I've been using GoodRx for years, and I can't tell you how many times I have saved money even with my insurance. Stop allergies before they start and save big on allergy medications this season with GoodRx. Go to goodrx.com/TCAT. That's goodrx.com/TCATT. Then we get to December 28th. Sodini writes, "Glad I stayed around. All these days off are great. I will shoot for Tuesday, January 6, 2009 at maybe 8:15. I have list of to-do items to make." So Gibbs, this is the first time that George Sodini has set a date that we know of, at least as it pertains to his writings.
So this for me is getting scary because you have to think somebody had to come across this. I can't imagine that it didn't have any visitors at all. I think somebody probably could have stumbled across it. Can you imagine reading this? Like you said, you'd have to think, what is going on with this guy? What is up with this? And is this real? If it is, should somebody know?
Yeah, it would be alarming. It's going to get more alarming, but even, setting this date, okay, what are you shooting for?
Right.
Why do you need to make this list? And then just the very next day, he writes again, questioning why women don't want him. He says, "I actually look good. I dress good, am clean shaven, bathe, touch of cologne. Yet 30 million women rejected me over an 18 to 25 year period."
30 million.
30 million. He says, that's how I see it. 30 million is my rough guesstimate of how many desirable single women there are. It could be true.
Yeah, but they all didn't reject you.
And they all don't definitely live in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah. And if they did, I'm pretty sure that most of them didn't seek you out, so they didn't reject you. They just didn't find you.
Right, but that in his head, right? I think that's why it's so important to dissect some of this writing, because you're really getting a chance to see, what this guy's thinking and what you could only really call a distorted view of reality. At the very least, I think it's much worse than that, but at the very least, it's a distorted view of reality.
Oh, absolutely. Wow.
He went on to say, "A man needs a woman for confidence. Flying solo for years is a destroyer. Looking back, I owe nothing to desirable females who ask for anything except basic courtesy.
You know, I also wonder with a guy like this, what was his standards? Did he set his expectations, his level at a point where it wasn't going to happen anyway? Did he think Cindy Crawford was going to be the type of girl that was going to go out with him?
Oh, I see what you're getting
what I
at.
mean?
Was he stuck on a 9-10 scale, for lack of a better term?
Yeah.
Whatever you think a 9-10 is.
Right. He had that, image of what he thought what the woman that would want him would look like.
Yeah, I don't know if he did. I really don't. Yeah. It could have been. I don't know. I keep coming back to this idea of, a guy that has such little self-confidence. He's going out in the world doing his daily thing.
Right.
He's seeing a lot of women.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You're going to walk around every day. You're going to see a lot of women. Now, if you, in your mind, think that every woman you see is rejecting you, even though you haven't talked to them, you haven't approached them,
right.
You haven't gotten to know anyone and said, hey, would you like to go out with me? Would you like to grab a bite to eat? You just are seeing women and saying, oh, she's rejected me.
Yeah. She won't say yes. She won't say yes.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't ask, you never know.
Or the other thing, which I think I already mentioned, is maybe he did ask, but was giving off, such a bad mojo vibe.
Yeah, either
this woe is me vibe, and women will pick up on that.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to date that guy.
No.
Nobody wants to date Eeyore, the woe is me guy.
No, they don't.
Now, on Christmas Eve, 2008, George wrote what was really one of his longer posts, Gibbs, where he rants about members of his family. He said that his father never taught him anything in life. He called him a useless sperm donor. Pretty rough words for your dad.
Sure. I mean, there's some dads out there like that, though.
Oh, there are. He called his mom the boss of bosses. He said, don't piss her off or she will be mad and vindictive for years. Very dominant. Her way and only her way, with no flexibility toward everyone in the household. A power and control thing. So I think through his eyes, right, we're getting a glimpse into his family life.
Right.
Now, it might be distorted because some of his other views, I believe, are distorted, but this was his view.
So you can see from the get-go, the most important woman in his life up till this moment has been his mom, which is a very powerful woman in his head.
Not only powerful, but dominant and very unflexible, according to him. He also called his brother a boss. He called him a bully. He said his brother was actually counterproductive and would try to embarrass me or discourage my efforts, especially with girls early on in my teen years. Useless bully. It was all about him. Way too self-absorbed. Kind of guy you actually love to hate. He referred to his sister as more of a victim than anything. He said they used to be close, but no more. There was some type of conflict in their relationship that caused them to have a rift and they drifted apart.
Well, he probably thought she didn't like him either, and maybe she got tired of him hitting on all her girlfriends.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
He does have relatively nice things to say about his niece and nephew. He doesn't say a lot of good things about many people. So I think that's significant. So, like I said, we don't really have much at all in the way of information on George's childhood. But I think you can gather, Gibbs, from this entry on Christmas Eve, a little bit about his family from his point of view. Obviously, he didn't really care for them. He wasn't close to them.
No.
In his eyes, it sounds like it was not a good childhood.
Well, dad's a sperm donor. Mom is controlling and dominant. Yeah. And my sister just don't like me.
I did think it was interesting that when he talked about his brother, right? Yeah, he called him a bully. He called him self-absorbed. But it came back around to girls. his brother got in the way of his teenage pursuit of girls.
Maybe his brother always got the girl he wanted and it broke his heart.
Either that, or did he really have anything to do with it at all? Or was there just some other reason for why this guy was unlucky in love? I mean, I think it's a question we're going to keep asking. Sure. It couldn't be him, right? It couldn't be that he's giving off this vibe like I talked about, and women are picking up on that and they're saying, whoa, not this guy.
He's manifesting in his head that it's the women, the girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no mention in any of this blog that he has done anything, or, he doesn't take any responsibility that maybe he's done something along the way to put other people off.
It's almost, in his mind, like a conspiracy of women against him.
Exactly. All 30 million have gotten together, maybe on a message board, maybe in a forum, and they said, hey, be on the lookout for George Sodini.
Right.
If he approaches you, if he tries to ask you out, you shut him down.
Look away. Look away.
It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he's wearing the tinfoil hat. That's not turning anybody off at all.
Yeah. That's swing away. Swing away.
What's that mean?
Oh, I'm thinking of the tinfoil hat, Mel Gibson, aliens try to break into the house.
Are you talking about Signs?
Signs, yeah. When Meryl's supposed to swing away.
Oh,
swing
I got
away.
you.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Did I just...
You could have went conspiracy theory too, because I think he was in that. But
that was really good.
Which is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
A conspiracy theory, not an alien invasion.
I'm just all over the board.
Although I think the hat was to ward off.
So they couldn't read your mind.
Yeah, so they couldn't read your mind.
I should wear one of those in here.
Dude, nobody wants to read your mind.
Some do, I think, because they want to be like, why is it so messed up?
Right, but if you're reading it, isn't it going to still be messed up? It's not like it's going to make sense in there. If it made sense in there, it would make sense when the words came out.
Maybe not. Maybe that's where it gets messed up as it exits the...
the mouthpiece?
The mouth, yeah.
So he ends this entry, this Christmas Eve entry, by saying that as a result of his family, he's trying to learn the basics by trial and error in his 40s. He says, writing all of this is helping me justify my plan and to see the futility of continuing. Hope it doesn't snow on Tuesday. I just thought of that. The crowd will be thin, so I would postpone. Shit. Gibbs, I think it's pretty obvious. You can tell that he's trying to work himself up into following through with his plan. But at the same time, it's as if he's leaving himself an out.
Right, yeah.
Oh, my gosh, it might snow. There might not be as many people at the gym.
So I'll have to reschedule. On January 5th, 2009, Sodini posted that he went to the gym to lift, and it was very crowded. Tomorrow should be good. I cannot wait for tomorrow. This is what he wrote. So as of this January 5th post, he is all set to carry out this mass murder the very next day. And on that next day, he made multiple entries. After work, he wrote, I can do this. Again, it's as if he's trying to pump himself up, talk himself into being able to do it. Why even go to work that day?
That's a good question.
I mean, if you know what you're planning on doing, why even go to work?
Was it because he knew he wasn't going to?
I don't know. It's weird, man.
It is. I never even thought about it. I think it's an excellent question. He said, this log is not detailed. It's only for confidence to do this. The future holds even less than what I have today. Gibbs, you can see this guy is spiraling.
Yeah.
Badly. At 6:40 p.m., he wrote, about an hour and a half to go. God have mercy. I wish my life could be better for all and the crazy world can somehow run smoother. I wish I had answers. Bye. This sounds like the entry of a man that is about ready to end things. I don't know how else you would take it, but then at 8:45, he wrote, I chickened out. Shit. I brought the loaded guns, everything. Hell. And he does put exclamation points after the shits and the hells and stuff like that.
So he got the nerve enough to load up, go up, But then he couldn't go any further.
Yeah, he got there, and that's when he chickened out. So he doesn't go through with the plan, but it does sound like he came very close. I mean, to load up the guns, to get in the car, to make the drive to the gym, and to get out, and then all of a sudden say, you know what, I can't do this. That's about as close as you can get.
Yeah. Whoever was at the gym that day, I'm sure they're grateful.
Very lucky.
Yes.
Which they would find out, sometime later.
Right.
Sodini doesn't make another entry until April. And this is where he talks about his company laying off workers, something that unfortunately I know quite a bit about. He survives the layoffs, but he writes and he laments about the economy and his company cutting back on bonuses and raises. Now, let's not forget, this was 2008, 2009.
Right.
This was a shit time in American economy.
Absolutely.
This is after the housing bubble burst. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, unless his attorney firm was doing foreclosures, it was a rough time. So I wonder what he was doing between that January date up to the next time that he did his entry.
Well, I have a couple of theories. Number one, he chickened out.
Right.
And that may have hurt his pride. It may have done whatever. And
Embarrassed.
Maybe he was embarrassed. I don't know who else would have been embarrassed by what he did because nobody else knew as far as I know. But within himself, he might have let himself down.
Sure.
And maybe therefore he didn't feel like writing for those months. He was also going through these issues at his company, afraid that he was about ready to be laid off. I don't know. But it does seem strange because he was writing quite frequently.
Yeah, exactly.
And then to take that amount of time off, it's almost like, okay, I couldn't go through with it. I have to regroup.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because he had this huge buildup.
He did.
And
then it was probably a huge letdown for him that he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. He makes a number of entries in May of 2009. He says that he started drinking again after 20 years of sobriety. And he explains the reason why. He says he needed it to take the edge off in, working out this plan, getting the courage up to carry out this plan.
Yeah.
He also, at this point, does talk a little bit about why he postponed the January 6th attempt. He asks a bunch of questions like, what's it like to be dead? He keeps saying that he feels like he's always forgetting something in the plan. And that's why he couldn't go through with it. Like he felt like he forgot something.
Yeah.
So he wasn't ready.
After all those lists that he had.
Yes. Later in the month, he talks of a date with a woman that he met on the bus. And you would think that would be great news, Gibbs, for a guy like George. This whole time he's been writing about, I can't meet anyone.
Yeah.
There's no women out there for me. Now the guy's got a date.
Yeah, he finally has what he wanted.
But even with that good news, he's peppering in his writing these rants about how women don't like him, that he feels totally alone and isolated. A lot of his posts revolved around the fact that he had nothing to do and nowhere to go. There were no parties. There's no dates. There's no picnics. I get up, I go to work, I come home, I eat, I write, and that's it. That's all I do.
Well, you got to make your own life, man.
I know. and I completely agree with what you're saying. It's almost as if he is doing these things. He's going to work.
Right.
He's coming home and eating dinner. And then he's sitting around his house as a loner and wondering why there's not some type of magic invitation to the Cinderella ball.
There's no knock on the door. Where's my knock on the door?
Yeah.
Somebody saying, hey.
To your point, Cindy Crawford didn't knock on his door and say, hey, would you like to go out tonight? It's almost like that.
I mean,
it goes back to the woe is me thing.
If he wants to meet somebody, he's got to go where the people are.
But he's not getting invited, Gibbs, to the parties and the picnics. And
yeah.
So how's he going to meet somebody? What's he going to do? Just go to a bar on his own and strike up a conversation?
That's too much for him.
It seems that way. George gets a promotion and a raise in late July 2009. In his writings, he says his new boss is great, but then immediately in the same post launches into how he has slept alone for over 20 years, saying the last time I slept all night with a girlfriend, it was 1982.
Well, okay. It's a long time.
It is a long time.
But whose fault is that?
It depends on who you ask. If you were to ask George Sodini, I know what his answer would have been. Mm-hmm. It's not my fault that these women, all 30 million of them, won't have anything to do with me.
I just want one of them to lay down with me. They won't even do it. Nobody wants to lay with me.
What are you talking about? Cuddling? He wants to cuddle?
Wow.
I don't know what you meant by lay down. Is that like lay down in the familiar sense or spoon?
I think he'd be happy with either or.
Either or.
Last time I spooned, that was with you in that hotel, CrimeCon. That
where I said those aren't pillows.
No, I still have nightmares.
He goes on to say, this is proof that I am a total malfunction. Girls and women don't even give me a second look anywhere. There's something blatantly wrong with me that no goddamn person will tell me what it is. So this is why I'm so perplexed. He has this great news in his life that for most of us, we would be over the moon.
Yeah.
About, hey, I got a promotion. I got a raise.
Yeah.
That's great news. All this guy can see is that women are ignoring him in his life. That's all he can see. He doesn't even take the promotion and the raise as a good sign because I think he does well at work. I think he's good at that. But his sole focus, and it almost becomes like tunnel vision, right? That's all he can see is females, women. I need a date. I want to have a relationship. I can't make it happen.
You almost think that any female he came across, if they didn't ask him out, if they didn't show interest in him, they were the worst thing ever.
Yeah. That was a rejection.
Yeah.
Right? You're standing in line behind somebody at the Starbucks.
Right.
A woman.
Yeah.
And she gets her cafe latte macchiato Gibby Grande.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
That's a good one.
But she doesn't ask you out.
Yeah. She don't even turn around and look at me.
Right. And so that's a rejection right there.
How dare she not even turn around and look at me?
Again, some of this is speculation, but I don't think it's a great leap to think some of this was going on in this man's head, judging by his writing. 3 days later, George writes about seeing a pretty young girl leave his neighbor's house. And he writes about his assumption that his 45-year-old neighbor and this young girl just had sex. Because that's the first thing that he went to.
Yeah. Couldn't have been the guy's daughter or niece or just a friend.
Couldn't have been.
Yeah.
This neighbor of mine about my same age is getting young girls. I can't get anyone. He talks about his frequent masturbation, saying, I have masturbated since age 13.
About the same time you started.
He was masturbating! He was masturbating! Out of the way! He was masturbating!
But then he goes on to thank his mom and brother and dad for totally ignoring him through the years. I don't know if that's a direct correlation with the masturbation or if that was for something else.
It's a weird thing to twist together.
Yeah, I mean, they're written kind of in conjunction with each other. He says, all of you deeply helped me be this way. I wish I could go back to 1975 and fix things.
Okay. Well, what does that mean?
I don't know. But the one thing I do take from that is, aside from the fact that he blames all these women, he is definitely blaming his family for the position he's in.
Yeah.
They did things to him throughout the years, growing up in childhood, that made him the man he is at this point in time. And he doesn't like the person that he is, obviously.
Right.
So he's blaming them.
Poor me, poor me, poor me.
George Sodini's last post was on August 3rd, 2009. Gibbs, he writes, I took off today, Monday, and tomorrow to practice my routine and make sure it's well polished. I need to work out every detail. There is only one shot. I haven't had a drink since Friday at 2:30. He also talks about God, Jesus, and says that he will see them soon. He writes that he won't be judged by God for what he's about to do because Christ already paid for every sin.
It's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement saying that God is okay with me committing a mass murder.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the commandments. I'm not a biblical scholar, but I do believe that's one of the 10 commandments.
But to say his sins have been prepaid, I mean, this is...
You're taking
bold.
some liberties. You're
Yeah.
taking some liberties there. But again, trying to figure out what place George Sodini is coming from.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, there's something going on from a mental health aspect. We'll talk about it maybe a little bit later.
Definitely some issues there.
There is.
Has to be.
What they are, people differ.
Yeah.
And obviously, no one is going to get to examine him while he's still alive.
Right.
And we're going to talk about why that is. He adds that this will be his last entry. And he closes with, any of the papers left on my coffee table I used or the notes in my gym bag can be published freely. I will not be embarrassed because, well, I will be dead.
Yeah.
Some people like to study that stuff. Maybe all this will shed insight on why some people just cannot make things happen in their life, which can potentially benefit others. That part is probably one of the only true statements he's made in some of this,
In all this
writing.
gibberish.
Yeah, and some of this rambling. Once the temps start rising, I realized I was back in the same worn out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like they're 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30. Luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. The best part, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I'm getting ready to stock up on shorts for summer from Quince, and I know they're going to be amazing because everything I've ordered has been of the highest quality, and the prices are amazing. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/TCAT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TCATT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCAT. My wife and I do a lot of shopping online, and we always use Rakuten. Rakuten is the smartest way to save money when you shop because you earn cash back at over 3,500 stores. We're talking fashion, beauty, electronics, home essentials, travel, dining, concert tickets, and more. Your favorite stores like Macy's, Nike, Sephora, Dyson, and Lowe's. And that's just to name a few. Pay Rakuten to send them shoppers. And Rakuten then passes on a part of that payment to its members as cashback. Cashback is deposited directly into your PayPal account, or Rakuten can send you a check. You can even maximize your savings by stacking cash back on top of other deals, like store sales and coupons. You're already shopping at your favorite stores. Why not save while you're doing it? It really is a no-brainer. Membership is free, and it's easy to sign up. Get the Rakuten app now and join the 17 million members who are already saving. Cashback rates change daily. See Rakuten.com for details. That's RAKUTEN. Your cash back really adds up. So it's Tuesday, August 4th, 2009. George Sodini is ready to carry out his plan. He spent 9 months writing about it, working up his nerve, and who knows, Gibbs, how long he spent thinking about it before he started writing, but it's all led up to this one day. Now, during this time, before August 4th, leading up to that, he had bought a number of guns. He had bought ammunition. He made practice runs to the fitness facility where he planned to carry out his attack. Police later learned that he swiped his card at the club at 11 a.m. So that's like a trial run that morning.
Yeah.
He updates the website with his date of death. He's made the decision. He's going to go through with it. So later on in the evening, he drove to the LA Fitness Center in Collier Township, just outside of Pittsburgh. He swiped into the club at 7:40 p.m. He exited the club and made a cell phone call to his mother. I never could figure out what the contents of that call was.
I'm guessing he was saying his goodbyes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's out there. I could not find it.
Or tearing into her a little bit.
I highly doubt it. And you know why? I don't think George had it in him.
Yeah.
To stand up. I think he used his writing like many people do on social media.
Sure. They're really brave behind that wall.
To say things that he would have never said in real life.
Yeah.
Now, I could be wrong. Maybe he told his mom all these things.
Yeah.
Maybe he told his brother all of these things, but I highly doubt it. I think he was able to write things that he could never say to anyone in person.
Hey, and someone that can do that on social media there's the good version of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's good to get things off your chest that
Sure.
you're afraid to say standing in front of somebody,
Yeah.
but needs to be said. There's also the problem of saying things that you shouldn't be saying because now you're protected behind this thing called the internet where people can't at least address who you really are and what you're saying about them.
Well, and to me, it all comes down to, are you trying to lift yourself up
Yes.
through the help of others, which we see a lot of in some of the various groups that we participate in, or are you trying to tear somebody down to make yourself feel better? Those are the ones that drive me nuts.
Yeah.
There's just no reason for it.
None. With that being said, I really tore into you. You haven't seen it yet.
I probably haven't.
No.
Hopefully it made you feel better.
Oh, I did. I felt great. It was about the wood slotted chair. So
I'm pretty used to that one.
yeah.
So he's made this call to his mother. He re-entered the fitness club at 7:56 p.m. Gibbs, he was wearing a black outfit. So kind of a black workout top, black workout pants, a black headband, and he's carrying a black gym bag. So he's all in black. Sometime after 8 p.m., George walked into a Latin impact class, aerobics type class, filled with 22 women. He put his bag on the ground. He turned the lights off in the room. And apparently, this was important. You had to hold the switch down for 15 seconds before the lights would actually turn off. It wasn't just a flick up and down.
Okay.
Something that an employee of the club had shown George previously. Now, obviously, this person had no idea what he planned to use that knowledge for. When the lights went out, George retrieved his guns and he started shooting. He had with him 2 Glock 9mm pistols, each of which had 30-round magazine. Those are huge magazines.
Right.
A pistol that holds 30 rounds, that's an aftermarket magazine. It would stick so far, below where a normal magazine would. He also had a 32 caliber pistol and a 45 caliber pistol. He fired 36 shots from the Glock pistols and then all of a sudden stopped. He took out the 45 and shot himself in the head, ending his life. And Gibbs, all of this happened in a very short amount of time. I don't know if people realize how fast you can actually fire 36 shots. It can be done very quickly.
Yeah, very rapidly.
Seconds, you can fire 36 shots. When it was over, 12 women had been shot, and this had to have been terrifying, right? For those 22 women inside that class. As the shots were being fired, some of the women were able to take cover. One woman later said that her life was saved when she hid behind a thick rolled up yoga mat. Apparently it stopped one of the 9mm bullets.
How lucky, man.
Very.
Yeah.
You don't think of a yoga mat as being something that would stop a bullet, but if you had it rolled up and it was thick enough, obviously it did.
Yeah.
It was estimated that there were about 70 people in total inside of the gym at the time of the shooting. Obviously, all of them scrambling to get away from the gunman.
So, those LA fitness clubs are pretty big.
They are.
So I just can't imagine being in any part of that and hearing, because that's not going to be quiet.
Oh, no. You're going to hear the report of the gun from, I would think, anywhere in there, unless maybe you had some type of noise canceling headphone.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to hear those,
You're going to hear
those
it.
gunshots.
Especially when that 45 goes off towards the end.
And 36, right? That's a lot. That's not one pop and you think, oh, I wonder what that is.
Yeah, it's going to be what is a scary moment.
Yeah.
But especially just throughout that whole facility, I just couldn't imagine what people were thinking, knowing that is it coming my way?
Yeah, and that's outside. Inside this class, or however big this classroom was, it's almost as if you're a sitting duck.
Sure, because he's by the door. If he's got the light switch, so
and you don't know. It's dark. You don't know what's going on other than the fact that somebody's firing a gun.
And when he shoots himself, if you have your head down, pretending to be dead, whatever, how long do you wait after that last shot before you move, And I'm sure even just waiting 1 minute
would seem like an eternity.
Yeah.
It would. Now, one of the things that police would come out later and say is they really don't know why he stopped. He had 2 30-round magazines. He only fired 36 shots, give or take. I think that was the number that most people pegged it at. It wasn't because he ran out of bullets. He had extra ammunition as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. He shot a certain amount and then decided that was it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I've done what I came here to do, is almost as what it seems like.
And I guess I have to say, thank goodness for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't want him to continue.
Yeah.
The police were just puzzled as to why he chose to stop when he did, because he could have fired many more shots and killed potentially many more people.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he just at that point realized what he actually had done and thought, all right, there's no reason for me to continue on and do this to anybody else.
Well, yeah, and the problem is nobody will ever know for sure because he took his own life.
Or he was worried that he wasn't going to have the willpower to kill himself. And that he's not a guy that wanted to be captured and have to relive this.
No, that was part of his plan, I think, all along. He wasn't going to go there to then be later captured by the police. He wasn't going to try to make a getaway. He was going to go and do what he set out to do, and then he was going to take his life. Pure and simple. 46-year-old Heidi Overmeyer of Carnegie, 49-year-old Elizabeth Gannon of Green Tree, they both died at the scene. 37-year-old Jody Billingsley of Mount Lebanon, she died less than an hour later at the hospital. So 3 women died. The other 9 women who were shot, many of whom were seriously wounded and initially listed as either serious or critical, they ultimately survived. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette interviewed friends and family of the 3 victims that died. People said of Heidi Overmeyer that she was a sweet-voiced woman. She was a former cheerleader that stood 5'1", had a 15-year-old son named Ian who was her whole world.
Man.
She loved her family, and she was the type of person that would do anything for anyone. Heidi had a bachelor's degree from Penn State University, and she worked at the amusement park Kennywood, where she was in charge of group ticket sales. Elizabeth Gannon was a radiology technologist at Allegheny General Hospital in Pittsburgh. She was described as a wonderful, caring person whose smile would brighten the day of colleagues and patients. She always had a smile on her face. I don't think she ever had a bad day, said a family friend. Jody Billingsley was a physical therapist who was into fitness. She had played on the basketball team in college, and she graduated with a degree in biology. Gibbs, this woman went on to earn both a master's and a PhD in physical therapy. She often rode her bike around the neighborhood. She ran competitive races. She liked to spend time gardening, but she also gave up much of her free time doing volunteer work. A former roommate said of Jody, She was very smart, very beautiful, had tons of friends. If you didn't talk to her all the time, when you did, you just picked up right where you left off. So, Gibbs, this was a horrible situation. Tragic. 3 amazing women were murdered. None of them had any connection to George Sodini.
Yeah, just an unfortunate event and timing for them. And
yeah, wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
But what amazing, amazing humans, man.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And their deaths impacted a large number of people. I mean, you're talking about family. You always talk about family. Then you talk about friends. But then you get into colleagues, right? At these different places where these people worked, they were universally loved.
Yeah.
These were bright, ambitious women. Some had a family, some didn't. I mean, as far as children and a husband, but there's no doubt they were great people. And you can't leave out the other 9 shooting victims. Yes, they survived.
Sure.
But no doubt it was a traumatic experience, one that they have to live with for the rest of their lives.
Well, they'll have PTSD forever, man.
In some way or another.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't think being in the room with that type of shooter who is committing a mass murder, that's not something that is going to leave you. You know, whether it's some form of PTSD, like you said, some of these may have survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. We talk about that from time to time.
Why them, not me?
Yeah, I think that's something that survivors struggle with. I'm not saying they're not happy to be alive, because I'm sure they are.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that, if anything, they're probably, because they still are alive, maybe just living a little bit harder, knowing how precious and lucky they are.
Oh, no, I hope they are. But at the same time, you know, there is some type of guilt that they're alive and these other 3 amazing women are not.
Yeah.
Right or wrong. I'm not saying it's something that should happen. I just think it's something that does happen. It's something you got to work through. Even the other people in the gym, right, that weren't shot, they would most likely have some type of lasting effect that they would have to deal with. I mean, pretty traumatic, even if you're not in the room being shot at. Just the fact that you're in the building when this thing went down, it's going to cause some issues for some people. Police found a note left by Sodini at the crime scene. I think he did have some notes in his bag that talked about how he never so much as spent a weekend with a woman, let alone ever lived with one. He said in the note that, you know, he hadn't had sex very many times in his entire life. Police also found 2 additional 30-round magazines for the Glocks in his bag. Police estimated that he had as much as 150 total rounds of ammo with him.
I mean, with that much ammo, and if he was willing to do so and a good shooter, he could have taken out everybody in there.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the police's question of why he stopped when he stopped.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure they're glad he did, but the question is why. He didn't have to.
No.
He had more ammunition left in the gun. He had 2 full 30-round magazines. And for whatever reason, he said, I'm done.
Yeah.
They found the 32 in his pocket. It was never used. When they searched Sodini's house, they found a note that outlined his plan to take his own life. They found a bunch more guns. He had a number of rifles. I think he had some shotguns. But they also seized his computer. They found a gym schedule with the Latin impact class circled. So the planning was evident, right? This is without even diving into the online journal. There's a note. He has the class schedule circled for that class. He didn't select it at random. You know, he had gone through some of these runs. He belonged to the gym. In advance, he had decided, I'm going to target this Latin impact class Tuesday at 8:15. So we've talked quite a bit about George's online blog. after the shooting happened, after this big news broke, people began pouring over it. They also began finding his videos on YouTube that I mentioned, right? The number of clicks went from like 2 to 25,000 in a day or so. Because people wanted to see who this guy was.
Yeah. We wanted to see the train wreck.
Someone discovered in the source code of his website something that wasn't visible on the web page itself. It was a line from George that read, "At the gym, I saw a woman I like. I see her at the park sometimes, so she isn't a stranger. Occasionally, she makes good eye contact and smiles. She's maybe 40-ish and attractive to me. To get a friend like her, and for nighttime action, I would cancel this plan or put on hold at least for a while." I'm not sure why he didn't actually post this on the web page, but somebody was able to find it in the source code. It's interesting because it almost sounds like, again, he's looking for another way out of this.
Right. Yeah.
And he's saying, okay, I saw this girl, this woman. She's attractive. I like her.
Right.
If there was any way that I could get her to go out with me, I'm not sure why he used the term nighttime action. I think we all know what that means.
Lay down with me.
Then I wouldn't do this.
Well, he says maybe he'll postpone it too, though.
Yeah, he's not saying I'll end it indefinitely, but I keep going back to something that you and I have talked about. Okay, he saw this woman. What did he do? Did he go up and talk to her? Did he ask her if she wanted to have coffee, maybe see a movie?
Right.
I don't think he did any of those things.
Probably saw her across the street, said, "Yep, she's good looking."
Another rejection.
She doesn't want nothing to do with me because she's paying attention to something else but me.
I guarantee it. Police were able to find out that Sodini had purchased the 2 Glocks legally in 2008, and he bought the 45 in 2009. I couldn't find much information about the 32. So I don't know if he bought it legally. I don't know if he got it from somebody else. A week after the shootings, a candlelight vigil was held to honor the victims. 500 people showed up to attend this vigil. The woman who organized it, Gibbs, bought 1,000 candles with her own money. This is how strongly she felt about doing something to honor the victims. And then it was after she started to set it up that local businesses donated water and food. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette interviewed a woman named Jennifer Rose, who survived the shooting with a group of other people inside the fitness center. They did so by barricading themselves in a supply closet. Rose said before the shooting, the club's members and staff, they were like a family. It was like this little community of their own. George Sodini shouldn't be allowed to ruin that. And I think you hear that quite often in the wake of some terrible tragedy. I mean, you can go all the way back to 9/11 when people were saying, all right, should we play football games? Should should Saturday Night Live air? And eventually it comes down to, at a certain point, life has to go on.
Yeah.
Or else whoever has done this, it's almost like you're letting them win.
Right. You can't allow that.
And you can't allow it. Gibbs, I found a newspaper story from 2009. It was in the Valley Independent newspaper, and it was about a woman who claimed that she had been stalked years earlier by George Sodini. So apparently the two met at a church function. This woman turned him down when he did express some interest because she was already seeing someone. So in this instance, apparently he did at least try to engage. Because you and I have speculated on that.
Sure.
How often did he do that? Or did he just say, all women hate me, they don't like me, I'm not going to talk to them?
She won't even look at me in my eyes.
This was somewhere around 2003. And the woman said Sodini seemed fairly normal at first. But she later learned that he had built a password-protected website about her. Apparently it was some fantasy type stuff that she was not happy about.
Wow.
She asked him to take it down and he refused. That's when he began stalking her. and it led to her taking out a restraining order against him. She was scared. I think in the article she said she slept with a loaded gun under her pillow for quite some time.
Well, when somebody develops a website strictly for you and them in a very weird sexual fantasy way.
Yeah, I don't know how far it went.
Yeah.
I have a feeling
bizarre.
It was fantastical in nature. Let's put it that way.
That would be alarming. And the fact that when you approach him and say, hey, I'm seeing somebody else, I have no interest, but can you take that thing down, please? That's not right.
Yeah, because it wasn't like a one-time thing. He came up to her, she shot him down. They did some stuff together. They went places. She just didn't want to see him in that way.
Right.
She didn't shoot him down and say, I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
It was just, hey, I got a boyfriend. I can't date.
We can be buddies, though.
But to get to the point where you're sleeping with a loaded gun under your pillow,
Right.
things have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And, to the point where you're taking out a restraining order, it was bad. Gibbs, as we wrap up, the one thing I think about is, to me, this is a very scary story. That of the frustrated loner who makes the decision to take out his frustrations on innocent people.
Yep.
And I often joke about the movie Billy Madison, and specifically about that scene where Steve Buscemi's character is sitting in his basement. He's wearing the lipstick. He has the list of names of people on whom he wants to get revenge.
People have wronged him.
Yeah, they've done something to him in the past. I kind of look at it and refer back to it as your classic loner living in mom's basement type scenario. It's not quite what we're talking about in this case.
No.
But it's also not that far off.
No, it's within that circle.
Yeah, this guy's not living in his mom's basement. He's actually doing very well for himself, but he's no doubt a loner. And he's got a lot of time on his hands, and he's using that time to kind of work himself up into a frenzy, and it fuels this type of revenge act that he's going to carry out, and ultimately did. The thing is, this one's no joke. This was real. And to me, it's very scary. The thing about George Sodini is he didn't want to get revenge on a specific person. It's not like he said, I'm going to target this woman because she shot me down and I'm going to go after her.
Right.
He wanted revenge on women in general.
Yeah.
The group that he saw as not wanting him, as rejecting him. He was so frustrated and angry with women because, as he put it, as we talked about, 30 million eligible women, and not a single one of them wanted him.
Nope, not him. And I'm sure he blames his mom for some of this.
I feel like he blamed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, I don't know what everybody did to him to deserve some blame. But you know what I do know is that the people in LA Fitness that night, and especially the women that were in that Latin Impact class, they hadn't done a damn thing to this guy. They became targets because he decided it was time. He was tired of it, and this is what he decided he was going to do.
He built this thing up in his head, and unfortunately, they were the last part of that.
The other thing that makes this case a little scary for me is, this is a guy that had no criminal record, which is kind of strange for you and I when we're doing an episode of True Crime all the time.
Right.
He also had no documented diagnosis of mental illness. Now, I think we all think there's something that was going on inside of Sodini's mind, but he had never seen anyone. Nobody had ever made, the diagnosis, and therefore he was able to legally purchase his firearms. This is not a guy that had to get black market guns. He didn't have to steal guns. He was able to walk into any gun store and legally purchase them because he had a spotless record.
Without his blog, his website, I think most people would just consider him a average Joe guy. Works at a law firm, goes to the gym and works out.
But here's the thing. I think they did consider him that because I don't think anybody knew about the online blog.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, after the fact,
Sure.
yeah, they're going to say, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I had no idea that,
He was like that.
yeah, that he had all these, racist feelings, that he had all this hatred towards women.
Because as a coworker, if that was your coworker, could you imagine being the place that you and I worked at together at one point, that one day we heard about this person?
I'm assuming we will at some point.
Well, that's probably true. Yeah, that's, yeah. But
I get you.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked
oh,
having worked with, this. I think he worked at that place for like 10 years.
yeah. You'd be like, that man, I had lunch with him once.
And there was tons of people that you and I worked with for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Who you knew pretty well. Now, we always say, you never actually know.
Right.
The person in the cubicle may not be the exact person that, they are at home.
Right.
And most people aren't.
No.
Whether it's the fact that they keep their desk neat, but then they go home and they're a total slob.
Right.
Or they're buttoned down, at the office and they let their freak flag fly at home.
Absolutely.
But again, there's nothing wrong with any of that.
No.
But being the perfect computer systems analyst by day and plotting the mass murder of women by night, okay, now we've got a problem.
Exactly.
But the thing to me, George Sodini, he wasn't Jason from Friday the 13th. He wasn't Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a guy that I think, to your point, most people probably thought this guy's got his shit together.
Sure.
He's doing okay.
He's getting promotions at work. He's doing something right.
But alone inside his house, he didn't have it together.
No.
Things were spiraling out of control until they finally did. But that's it. That is the case of George Sodini. I did find it fascinating. I knew it was going to be a different type of episode for us because of the way that the information was laid out, right? A lot of it came from his personal blog, but I also think that it added an element that we don't always have, especially in a case where, a shooter ends their life before they're captured. It's not like they're divulging any information after that point. So to have this guy's thoughts written out over a 9-month period, I just found it completely fascinating. Yeah. Now, I think what he did was horrible, but to be able to kind of climb, into that mind a little bit, and you're not going to understand why he did what he did, but you're going to have a greater understanding of what drove him to do it, maybe, or why he thought he needed to do it, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
No, I get you.
All right, Gibbs, we got some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Yeah.
Hi there, this is Kuli Parshad. I've been listening to your podcast for around 4 months now. I'm on Nicole van der Heiden's series, and I'm finding it really interesting. I'm really impressed in terms of how you explain the story, how the process works, and leaving us in suspense. So I'm really grateful that I found your podcast, and I've been committed to it. Sorry about my throat, it's a bit dodgy. But I'm going to continue listening to it. I think you're on 166 now, so I'm looking forward to slowly getting to that level. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. We appreciate it. Sometimes my throat gets a bit dodgy too. I like the word dodgy. I don't use it enough in conversation.
But when British use it, it's awful good. Dodgy,
Did you say when British use it?
When British. When
the
English.
British or Britons or
English. Dodgy.
No, it is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes off the same if I try to use it.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. My name is Shelby from Dallas, Texas. I hope y'all are still playing voicemails because I'm super late to the party, but I just recently discovered your podcast and I'm addicted. I'm actually kind of happy I'm just now finding you guys because I've been binging your show for literally 8 hours straight every day at my new office job. And I'm not generally an unsolved crime fan, but you guys are awesome and great to listen to. So I'll be checking out your Unsolved podcast whenever I run out of episodes. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day and keep your own time ticking. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Well, we stopped doing voicemails, but because of this one, we started them back up again. So thank you.
You're such a liar. Don't lie to the new people. No, but that's nice. We do need people to continue to jump over and check out Unsolved. We've talked about it before. We know there's a lot of people that have trouble with the unsolved nature of a case. But for those that haven't listened, it's the same format. If anything, you and I riff a little bit more on Unsolved because the facts are somewhat less concrete. Yeah. Often. So we're able to speculate on things and it kind of gets us talking a little bit more. So definitely check it out.
Hey, I'm impressed that she's like at the brand new job and already 8 hours into the job, she's spending it with us and not her job.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
She's got one of those jobs, as some people do, where they're able to listen while they work.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. That's awesome for a podcast.
We love it.
We love it. We need more people to get those types of jobs so that you can continue to binge.
Hey, y'all. This is Ashlyn calling from San Antonio, Texas. I have been, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed to say this. I just finished episode 166 and I started episode 1 in November. So I have been binge listening y'all's podcast because I love y'all so much. The dynamic between you two is hilarious, and I find myself saying, oh my gosh, and talking out loud, and my husband makes fun of me, but that's fine because I'm enjoying myself and listening to some awesome true crime. So thank you guys for all that you do. Keep up the good work and keep your own time a-ticking. Bye.
Why does it always sound so much cooler when people from the South say, keep your own time a-ticking?
I know. It
sounds so much cooler.
It does.
Did she say her name was Ashlyn?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a name that you hear a lot of.
Well, unless you're around here.
It also happens to be the name of my youngest daughter.
Yeah.
So there you go. But we very much appreciate the voicemail.
We do.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. I've been enjoying the show, and because of my obsession with true crime, my boyfriend is starting to be concerned. I do have mace and a stun gun, and I just ordered a taser, and he doesn't even know about the ladder that I bought to hang from my balcony if I need to escape. But he thinks that I've gone overboard, but he doesn't understand how it feels to have had couple of peeping toms, a couple of home invasion attempts, including by the 13th most wanted man by the U.S. Marshals a few years ago, as well as some other scary instances. So it's at least nice to tune into your podcast and know that you guys understand. Keep your own time ticking.
Well, I think you're missing one key piece to that puzzle, which is the K-bar knife.
The K-bar. You know, I was going to say, Gibbs, he thinks she's going too far. I don't know if she's going far enough.
Nah.
I might go full Home Alone. I might be hanging paint cans on strings.
Absolutely.
And putting nails up, on boards. Yeah. So, or go the old Death Wish. Did you ever watch the Charles Bronson Death Wishes?
Love that.
Where he would crack and I think he did it in Home Alone too, but he would crack the glass and put it right inside the window so that when they stepped in, they would make noise. And
I just, one, I'm sorry all that stuff happened to you too.
I am too.
That's sad, but I'm glad that you're okay. And I hope nothing ever happens to you again like that. So
I will say this, and I think I've been pretty honest with my feelings on it. I believe that as far as personal protection goes, you need to do whatever makes you comfortable within the confines of the law.
Right.
As long as you're not breaking any laws and, it makes you feel good to be more prepared. How is it ever a bad thing to be more prepared than less prepared?
Well, it's not.
As evidenced by all of my 25-year shelf life food that I have and my water supply.
That you feed me when it's too old, but that's another story.
When we run out of time, I'll give you a pack and make you mix it with water.
But I would say you got to look out for yourself.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is going to do it for you.
Well, there might be some people looking out for you.
You know what I mean. When that moment occurs.
You are in charge of your own personal safety.
Absolutely.
That much is true. you have family, you have friends, everybody's looking out for you. But at the end of the day, you're in charge.
That's right.
And you got to take whatever steps you feel are necessary.
But we appreciate you.
We do. We appreciate you calling in. And if it sounded different, it's because she actually recorded that and emailed it.
Oh.
As opposed to leaving it on the voicemail line, which anybody can do, especially overseas.
Yeah.
If, you don't want to make that long distance call.
Really crisp.
It was.
Clear.
It sounded very good.
Yeah.
I don't know what she recorded it on, but it had good audio quality. All right, Gibbs, we had mailbag. Bethosaurus Brady. I think I read that right on the on the letter.
Bethosaurus.
Sent us some Harley chips from Bend, Oregon.
Awesome.
And some stickers from her pizza cart, which is called Cheese's Crust.
Oh, that's cool. She got a little pizza cart. Yeah. And she rolls around or pull around or drive around or...
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but she has her own business, her own pizza business.
Well, send us the pizza.
Pizza sounds good.
It does sound good.
Patreon member Steph Murr.
Yeah.
Sent us a very cool card. She's a rock climber.
She's a professional rock climber.
And she essentially showed us all some of her rock climbing skills. It was really cool.
And she just messaged me. She said, hey, did Furky get my postcard? And I said, I think if he did, he'll talk about it on the upcoming podcast.
Yep. Actually, I just picked it up today.
Yeah.
And then someone sent us a very cool mouse pad of a Salvador Dali painting.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, but there was no name.
What? Another no name?
A no-namer.
Well, we got quite a few no-namers.
We have lately. And so it seems to happen every time somebody orders it from another company.
Yeah. So I'll just clear this up right now. The mouse pad and this painting over here, I sent them to you.
Oh.
It was a gift from me to you.
Because you like to take credit when nobody has taken credit within a certain amount of time.
If no one's going to take credit for it, it came. I forget what the other thing was, but
thanks, Gibby.
That came from me too.
All right, everyone. We've got to get out of here. That's it for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant pulls out a weapon and starts firing at him.
We're talking about the CEO of the biggest private health insurance corporation in the world.
And the suspect,
he has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione,
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was targeted, premeditated, and meant to sow terror.
I'm Jesse Weber, host of Luigi, produced by Law and Crime and Twist. This is more than a true crime investigation. We explore a uniquely American moment that could change the country forever.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Finally, maybe this would lead rich and powerful people to acknowledge the barbaric nature of our healthcare system.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.